Donald Trump keeps saying that he's going to make Canada the 51st state. And as we get closer and closer to a federal election, we have to ask ourselves, is Pierre Poilievre even capable of preventing that? More concerningly, whether it's domestic or abroad, can we even trust Pierre to not sell us out? Let's take a look at this ad by Protecting Canada.
I would love to see Canada be the 51st state. We should have better health coverage.
No wonder Trump endorsed Poilievre. Poilievre is secretly bankrolled by the owners of American private for-profit hospitals. And Poilievre's American-style healthcare would drive up costs, sell off public healthcare, and sell out Canada.
You will pay.
Our views would be more aligned, certainly.
That's Poilievre, but it's just not Canada.
While some people may think that these concerns and these types of ads are hyperbolic, why don't we break down the points and take an actual look?
Okay.
All right, let's do this. It is true that in the past, Trump endorsed Poilievre. And it's also true that in the last few weeks, Pierre has been scrambling to negate that endorsement.
Are you looking forward to working with Pierre Poilievre, the new guy?
I am. If that's what happens, certainly it would be very good. Our views would be more aligned, certainly.
Prior to the recent developments with Trump's attacks on Canada, Pierre would have eagerly accepted and gloated about a Trump endorsement. But now that it's no longer beneficial, he's trying to shy away from it. After spending years screaming that Canada was broken and a hellscape,
Everything is broken in Canada. Canada is broken. Canada is broken. Canada is broken. Everything's broken in Canada.
that Canada was weak and that Canadians should be ashamed of our country, Pierre has now tried to pivot to a place of strength by talking about putting Canada first. And also, oddly, Canada last. And even more oddly, he says Canada always.
We'll always put Canada first.
For our home, for Canada first, always and forever.
Canada first, Canada last, Canada always.
I know this has nothing to do with politics, but it really bugs me that he says always. He doesn't say always, it's always. It gives off the energy of a kid who learned to read, then misread a word, got corrected, and then out of spite, never learned to say the word properly. It's also weird for him to say Canada last. I get what he's trying to say, but it doesn't really give off the message that Canada should be protected. And this is because Trump is most definitely putting Canada last. Pierre's other endorsements are also eye-raising, including Elon Musk, Ben Shapiro, Joe Rogan, Jordan Peterson, and Alex Jones, a name that will get me flagged on multiple social media sites because that raises a whole other slew of red flags. You know that old phrase, you are the company you keep? That applies to politics too, in so much that you are the endorsements that you get and accept. And Pierre has really struggled to distance himself from the alt-right. One of Pierre's top MPs, Jamil Jivani, is even a close friend of Trump's VP, J.D. Vance. What's even more telling is that Jamil gladly attended the inauguration of Donald Trump even after his best buddy J.D. Vance insulted Pierre Poilievre publicly at a dinner. So how can we even trust that Pierre, Jamil, and the conservatives can stand up to Trump and Vance if they can't even stand up for themselves? Like, seriously, have a spine. Then there's moneyed interests. We've seen what happens in Alberta and Ontario when private healthcare gets its hands on conservative leaders. For example, former conservative Premier of Ontario, Mike Harris, privatized long-term care in Ontario when he was Premier, and then immediately after stepping down, joined the board of a massive for-profit long-term care company. And not only that, but his wife is an owner of one of the largest private nursing agencies in the province. When Pierre talks about healthcare, we have no reason to trust him, especially when other conservatives across Canada have time and time again proven to us that their idea of better healthcare is better profits for the private sector. And their idea of better healthcare is having less options and less access for you. They care more about their private donors than they care about you having better access to healthcare. And Pierre has already promised to get rid of pharmacare and insists that the dental care program hasn't served a single Canadian, which is literally just not factually true at all. It shouldn't be surprising then that Pierre doesn't care for Canada's healthcare. Even as measles cases across Canada are exploding, Pierre hasn't reckoned with his anti-vax past. It's hard to tell if Pierre doesn't believe in science, doesn't believe that you have a right to healthcare, or doesn't believe in the foundations of Canada. But it's most certainly obvious that Pierre doesn't think that you deserve anything, even if it's something that's been promised to all Canadians for decades. And Pierre is most definitely not in it for the little guy, as he continues to hold fundraisers and mega mansions with the richest Canadians. Pierre also qualified for his pension when he is the age that I am now, which is absolutely crazy considering that he spent his entire political career trying to increase the age that you qualify for your pension at. Pierre also wants to destroy unions with legislation that will essentially make unions powerless. This is very similar to legislation that's been passed in some US states. He doesn't care for the average worker. He is hell-bent on destroying the structural framework of Canada, and all that does is play into the hand of Donald Trump. The weaker Pierre makes Canada, the easier it is for Trump to annex us. And that is a cost we cannot risk to bear. Even before he was leader of the Conservatives, Pierre was aligning himself with MAGA-adjacent ideology. Like, for example, do you remember when he marched with the Freedom Convoy?
I was out at an overpass as the truckers went by, and what I saw were cheerful, patriotic, optimistic Canadians.
I've been out meeting with the truckers and the other protesters, and I have found nothing but honest, hardworking, decent people.
Or before that, in his tenure when he accused Indigenous people of being lazy because of handouts? Pierre doesn't believe in giving his fellow Canadians a helping hand. He believes that helping others is weakness, and that the only way to be strong is to do so independently. But that's not true. Canadians know that we have strength through unity, but Pierre only wants to divide and isolate, which is pretty fitting considering that that's also the Trump playbook that he's attempting at a global scale. And Pierre would only be serving Trump's goals if he became prime minister. Trump said it himself. His views are more aligned with Pierre Poilievre than with the Liberal Party. Poilievre might be infatuated with Trump, but that's just not Canada. If you like this video, please like and subscribe. You can also donate to my Patreon to help me pay for my editor to make these long-form videos. You can also find me on TikTok and Instagram and LinkedIn and X and or Twitter. No, it's Twitter and Blue Sky. I'm forgetting something. Oh, podcast. I have a podcast called Perfectly Frank where I interview people. I've been interviewing a lot of politicians lately, but I'm going to be going back to interviewing some influencers. So my interview with Matthew Green just came out. I think it was really, really good. He had some really, really cool things to say, and we had a really good conversation. So please check those things out. And I appreciate everything. Thank you for watching.